And if you send the messages, that'll be interesting. So we can actually answer that if we manage to answer. And that's it. So welcome, Mateus.
Hello, Hannah. Welcome. Good evening, everyone. I hope you all have a great time tonight and share questions, ask anything about Halloween, and we're here to entertain you, to answer your questions, and feel free to ask anything about the theme.
Very good. Oh yeah, and now there's one more special thing. And if you're like watching us right now, take a picture and you can tag CNA Poços de Caldas on Instagram. So take a picture of the screen or take a picture of yourself with the screen. Be creative and take this picture and send it to CNA on CNA Poços de Caldas on Instagram, right? And tag us, and then you get some dollars and CNA. You just talk to your teachers, and the teacher will say, "Oh, we need dollars," and that's it. So, guys, very quickly, some more parts of this introduction. Halloween, as we all know, it's a we can say it started over Europe and then it went to the United States because it has a European root, tradition due to the British colonization in America. So it has this European roots. Actually, has this Celtic roots as well, and then it went across the sea, so it became a American worldwide celebration. And Hannah, what does Halloween have to do with Brazil itself? If you really think about it, nothing to do with Brazilian culture as the way it's configured, the way it's structured. And that's why since 2005, just to make a quick comparison, because then Mateus will talk about other details. I'm not going to jump into his part. Because in Brazil, since 2005, they started celebrating what they call it Saci Day or Day of Saci, because we have our own symbolic and folkloric figures and symbols and culture. We have Saci, we have Pula Sem Cabeça, Curupira, Boto Cor-de-Rosa, and many other symbolic folkloric figures. And since then, children and some people, instead of wearing American European costumes, then they wear these local or regional costumes to celebrate Halloween. But again, the cultural background, it's totally different, and there is no such relation with the word Halloween itself, because Mateus will explain about that. Okay, so it's with you now, Mateus.
All right. Thank you, Hannah, for the intro. And all right, guys, Halloween. Where did Halloween come from? What's the origin about Halloween, its name? So it's an ancient Celtic festival of Samhain on October 31st. Okay, so as Hanan said, it's an European tradition. Like 2000 years ago, they were already celebrating and doing kind of a party, a celebration for the spirits. And it's a Celtic thing, okay? Celtic festival. And these days marked the end of summer and the harvest, okay? And that's why they did a celebration. They had a huge festival to celebrate the harvest and the beginning of winter, all right? It was believed that this cycle ended and the ghosts of the dead returned to earth during this time. And that's why they wear costumes to avoid those bad spirits and bad luck in general. And here you can see a picture of a traditional European Halloween where they had a bonfire lit and they celebrated the end of the harvest, right? And that's the main purpose of Halloween back then. like Hannah said, what it has to do with Brazilian American cultural events nowadays, right? We'll get there, okay? Believe me, they sure brought from Europe to American, and a lot of things changed, all right? So, Halloween uh, has its name because of the Pope Gregory III, okay? This guy on November 1st declared that it would be All Saints Day, okay? So here in Brazil, we have it on November 2nd and November 1st, something related to All Saints Day, Day of the Dead, okay? And this made October 31st, the day before November 1st, All Saints Eve, okay? So it was a day close to the Saints Day. That's why it's called Eve. And then All Saints Eve evolved to All Halloween, which was traditional English used back then, and then they adapted for Halloween. Okay, so that's the name. It means almost Saints Day. Okay, and now, Hannah, would you like to talk a little bit about Halloween in America? Do you want me to keep up?
Well, very quickly. So in America, we do have some what you can call it. It's a blended. It's a kind of blended tradition because we do have, depending on the part of America where it's celebrated, and as we know, it's a most. I'm going to use a term here. I believe people will understand. It's a celebration more related to a white cultural heritage. But what happens in the United States? If you analyze the south part of the United States, you do have some Afro-American enrooted culture. So there was a mixture. And what else happened in the United States? You do have some parts due to the Hispanic culture, we have this mixture. But the essence of the celebration itself, it's totally European. Even the markings, even the symbolic figures, it's mostly celebrated in a structure. Whereas where you also have relations with Christian background and roots. Yeah, some people say, Catholics or Christians do not celebrate Halloween because of the monsters and stuff like that. But if you go back down to history, uh, first, where the first celebrations in America, there was nothing to do with vampires, werewolves, and stuff like that. Yeah, this only became these figures and this I can't even say these figures are folkloric figures in American history, because if you analyze the first movies, we're going to talk, Mateus is going to talk about movies, like the first Frankenstein movie, werewolf movies only came to release in the United States after the late 20s, after the late 30s. So so where were these figures in the Halloween tradition? There were no such figures. So the relation people have nowadays with the devil, it doesn't make, it's a kind of fake news inside the Halloween. So there's the root, it's a European American Christian with the celebration about the harvest. That's why we have the jack-o'-lantern with this pumpkin. And we have lots of mixture with other cultures, okay? And after a while, in the 40s and in the 50s, if we analyze in the 50s, there was a really nice, I don't know if the people who are watching us, I really love this. When I was in England, I used to love it because in Brazil, we don't have this. There was the Addams Family. It was a TV series. It wasn't the movie. And this movie came out in the end of the 40s, the 50s, and it was in black and white. And after these figures, the Frankenstein and other figures, they were already part of the American culture, American history. Yeah? And even if we analyze the werewolf, uh, the symbolic image of the werewolf, it's from Europe. Yeah, Frankenstein is from Europe. The vampire is from Europe, and there's no such relation with the Halloween ancient or first celebrations of the Halloween. Only after there was a fusion. That's why we in the image that we have for this live, we have the images for other folkloric urban legends. We have this parallel, yeah, Halloween and urban legends. Only after there was a fusion with cinematic figures, then Halloween had this relation with the devil. But in the very first start, there was no relation itself, and I was reading it before. Oh, so this is a totally anti Christian tradition. No, it isn't. It's just a cultural celebration. It's part of, it's more related to American history than, again, Brazilian history. Yeah.
Yes, just to complement what you're saying, it's really religious because they believe that the ghosts came back from the dead and they walked among them, and that's why they wear costumes, just to make sure they are like, hey, we're in peace here, don't bother us, please. And that has nothing to do with Christianity, like the devil or something like you mentioned. So it was more like ending a cycle, and trying to be friend with the others from the other places and other dimensions.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on here, we have Halloween in America, pumpkin carving, trick or treat, and commercial movies. Like Hannah said, nothing of this was in the first Halloween, the roots of Halloween. This is more of an American thing, and as we all know, most of our holidays and dates they tend to be like for selling things, to promote things, right? Not all have this intention, but they turn out to be um, to involve money, right? And now we have in Halloween the movies, Trick or Treat, and carving pumpkins is something related to having fun, right? Not only the money like the movies, but pumpkin carving, trick or treat, it was not always like this. So right here, I made a parallel on European versus an American, and we have here European. They made lanterns out of turnips, right? So they didn't use pumpkin carving. It's more like an American thing. So imagine no pumpkin in Halloween. As we all know here, it would be a little bit strange, right? A little bit weird. Here in America, we have trick or treat, which consists on the kids, on people in costumes to knock on the door and ask trick or treat, and they would receive some candies from the owner of the house, right? And if the owner doesn't give the kids or the person candy, they would play a trick on them. Okay, back then in the Celtic, uh, like 2,000 years ago, this was called souling, and it involved on people going on the houses, knocking on the doors, and asking for something in return of their praise. All right, so they would pray for the dead. Okay, so it's like a trick or treat, but um, more focused on the spiritual side of the Halloween, right? So people would pray for the others, for the dead, and in exchange, the owners would give them candies or whatever they had in there. I don't believe they had like, I don't know if they had candies like nowadays, right? And back then. So I think
Yeah.
they would give like, oh, here, there is a turnip for you. So yeah, but it acts like the same. Instead of trick or treat and you give a candy and the kid won't play a trick on you, you would ask Soling for praying something good for the dead, and the person will retrieve you uh, something of value for you. Dressing up as famous horror creatures and characters. Nowadays, we have like each Halloween is different based on our movie, on our pop culture, right? because I don't remember, 2 or 3 Halloweens ago, we had Harley Quinn from the DC Comics, right? And the Justice League. And now we have Round Six, right? As a popular TV show on Netflix. And now everyone will dress, I bet everyone will dress like Round Six characters and tunes for this Halloween. Last year or a couple of years ago, like I said, was Harley Quinn, the Joker, because it was in the movie industry. So American Halloween is, how can I say, is fully influenced by the cinema, the movie theater, right? And people like to dress as famous characters and creatures because they are what's going on nowadays, right? They are the brand new stuff. But back then, like I said, like Hannah said, it involved more religious context, dressing up as evil spirits to ward off ghosts. So they would make costumes to avoid, to tell the spirits, the ghosts that they believed that came back on from the dead on October 31st. They would say like, hey, don't mess with us, we are evil spirits too, we are worse than you. So they would dress as scary as they could, right? So if you Google some old costumes, if you Google some old Halloween parties and European uh, parties, you will see like terrifying costumes. It's like there's nothing to do with Halloween nowadays. Okay, today you can see like a fairy, werewolf, or maybe a robot or something like that, a zombie. But back then, oh my God, guys, it was like something really terrifying. Okay, they wore masks and they tried to be as scary as they could, just because they believed that ghosts would be around them. Okay, so it's better to be already, right? I wouldn't want to be hit or to be scared by a ghost. So I would dress like one too.
Just to make a quick a compliment on that, Mateus. Like you said about traditions and like some costumes, they become they become quite trendy nowadays due to cinematic influence.
Yes.
Like
Mm-hmm.
if you analyze in Brazil, the costumes that people wear in Carnival, depending on the costumes, there's no such relation with the traditional folkloric figures of Carnival in Brazil.
True. Mm-hmm.
There's no such relation. It's mostly going on the internet, on social media, all going on TV. Or if there is a social event about politics or any other things, people dress up wearing this costume. The same influence happened on Halloween. There's something interesting about this souling. I don't know for you guys that are watching us now, or if you're gonna watch us later on. What happens is that we have local. There's a local tradition. It happens mostly in Minas Gerais. For those who are related to a kind of religion, during the Holy Week, there are some women, they wear black and they sing for the souls. Yeah, I don't
Okay.
know for people nowadays. This has become something really rare. What do? They schedule, they go up to a house, it's during the night, and
Oh
they
my God.
they carry candles. But if you actually, it's kind of scary for the people who are not used to this. But if you actually observe this, I've been around this because I like this kind of traditions, and it's usually during the night, and they sing to the souls. Yeah, it's something kind of, there's a mixture of being scared, but at the same time it's a curiosity and a feeling. But it's a interesting, it's about this tradition.
Mm-hmm.
But this again, it came from Europe, it came from Portugal as a Catholic tradition, but it became a popular tradition in Brazil. And in the Holy Week, many of the people who actually sing, most of them are like Catholic, but some of them, they're just sing for the tradition. And it's something interesting. And for those of you like maybe next year, even if you're not a religious person, it's something cultural to see. It's part of our Brazilian patrimony. Yeah, so it's really interesting, and the way they sing it. Most of them are elderly women. So some people say, "Oh, they're witches." No, no, no. They sing for the souls, and some houses they ask them to go there, and there's a quick. It's a quick ritual. Let's say, not a ritual. It's a liturgy, and they go there and they go around 4 to 5 houses, and it's a kind of Halloween environment inside the Holy Week.
Yeah, if they come to my house, they would definitely sing for my soul,
Oh,
because
great
I
stuff.
would be so scared.
Yeah,
They would like, oh, there's a new soul to pray for. There you go. It would be
that's
mine.
it.
But yeah, that's good because their Halloween is like we said like 3 4 times already. It's related to not impressing, but related to the spirits itself, right? To something that it's not far from this world, our world as we are used to. So it's not very new if a new tradition come up and it's made for the souls singing for people that are dead already, because the whole Halloween was supposed to be for the ghosts, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so do you want to talk about the movies now? Here's a picture. Yes, the Trick or Treat. As you can see,
yeah,
this is more of a an American side already, because you can see there's a pumpkin and a girl with a magic or doing some stuff, and this is more an American way of celebrating the Halloween. Because like we said in this slide, they in Europe they used turnips instead of pumpkins. Okay, so you can see here pumpkin flowers, and this girl's definitely doing a magic. All right, so guys, moving on here, we have Halloween movies. Do you want to talk about this already, Hannah?
yeah, it can be.
And me too.
Yeah, nice. Yes.
All right, so we have Halloween movies. Are you brave enough? I'm not so sure if I'm brave enough, but I would watch some of these movies maybe during the day. And if I lock all my house and sleep with the lights on, maybe I would watch them. Right, guys. So uh, we have very, very famous. Actually, all of them are famous. Like Hannah and I, we got 4 to 5 movies here to talk with you guys, and all of them are famous. I'm sure everyone here knows all of them, but we're gonna talk about movies that are related that to Halloween nowadays. Okay, none of them. Keep in mind that none of them is because of Halloween. Okay, they have nothing to do with Halloween. It's just because it's about monsters, creatures, and they became popular in Halloween itself. Because Halloween was evolving when it came to America, and it became a pop influence, right? From the movies, the musics, television, and it wouldn't be different from the cinema, right? Which has a huge influence even nowadays, and I believe it will have in the future. So first we have Frankenstein. Okay, Frankenstein is a novel written by the English author Mary Shelley in 1880. I'm sorry, 1818. And she was a very good writer. She wrote Frankenstein for the first time, but she only managed to publish it in 1820, because back then we had problems with society, with women doing stuff, and as we all know, it's not cultural, but it's something that is really bad for us since the early human existence, I would say like that. But 1820 was the time she managed to put her name on the movie, not only the movie, the book, right? Because it was first book, and it's a shame because she's a really talented writer, and she did Frankenstein, which is a huge success until today, and it was back then. And most of everyone, like most of the people that read or that watch something related to Frankenstein, they believe that the creature is called Frankenstein, but it's not, and it's a common mistake because Frankenstein is the name of the doctor that created the creature, the monster. So he's called Victor Frankenstein. Is the young scientist that created the creature. The I don't know if monster is a good name for that poor soul, but yeah, the monster itself, the creature has no name. So it's Dr. Frankenstein creature. All right. So it's a common mistake to believe that Frankenstein is the monster, and it's erroneous. Like I wrote here, like we put here, it's erroneously referred to the creature, and it has nothing to do with it, right? So the story is basic. The doctor, the scientist, is feeling alone, and he wanted to create a creature, to create something to make company for him, to make to be with him, to be around. And instead of creating something, how can I say that? Not cute, but something like visual acceptable, right? He created something really scary and big, and it was out of his hand. And then suddenly he created a, I don't know, 2 meter, 3 meter tall guy, super scary, that you wouldn't want to see hanging around your street. And people became furious. They thought Frankenstein made a mistake. But then as you watch, as you read this novel, you start to figure out that the monster is just a poor guy that wants to find why he was born, why he was created. So really, really famous novel, movie, book. And I think Mary Shelley should be more mentioned in nowadays culture, because if you don't do a quick research, if you don't go on the authors, the writers, I don't think you guys would figure out it was a woman that did this, right? Because of our culture, this is something really bad for us, that uh, she did a wonderful job, and it's still around us, right, Hannah?
Yep. And guys, again, if we analyze the figure of Frankenstein back then, the monster as it is, the way it's presented, and nowadays we have a more humanized semblance of Frankenstein than back then. Okay, so it's like the message, everything is cultural. Yeah, it's related to history. So once
Hmm.
where you have back then, you have a really scary, destructive of Frankenstein. Nowadays, it's a humanized. There's even a movie. I forgot the actor's name. He was that guy who was the attorney in Batman, the blonde guy. I forgot his name. And then he was in a Frankenstein movie, and he was the hero, and he had human feelings, human
Hmm.
reactions. And once you read the book, that's pretty much the whole story. The idea of the scientist is not only to have this live monster, is to actually create, kind of have the feeling to be a god of creating a creature, and this creature being capable of having feelings. But again, it's
Yeah,
another way of the influence. Yeah, so look at that one. Yeah.
yeah. I,
Yeah.
as you were speaking, I was just like, oh, let me show them the this is the picture of
Yeah.
Frankenstein back then. Yeah, and a lot of people mistaken him for the doctor and stuff like that, like I said. And like you mentioned, it's was really on point on your talk, that the story, the book itself, is to show that a creature, a monster, could have human feelings, right? That's the whole plot twist of the book, and telling that it's not because the way he looks that he must act like he's looking, right? Because look at this, it's super terrifying, right?
There's a if you mentioned something about monster, there's a book called Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's the same kind of plot. It's
Mm-hmm.
from Robert Louis Stevenson. He's a British writer. It's the same thing. He's a scientist. He's trying to find a cure for something. So there's always this curiosity about something, the scientist, and then he's the one that actually has to take
Oh, I
the
see.
medicine. So then during the night, he becomes the monster, and during the day he is the doctor himself. So you have this kind of personality. So it's interesting the cultural social analysis that we can have on Halloween as well. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. All right, so moving on here, we have Friday the 13th. Wow, this movie, right? Pretty good movie, and it was a mark on the 80s. Personally, my favorite decade. Okay, 80s are the best for me, especially in the movie industry. Friday the 13th, for most of you that don't know, or I don't know if you guys know, is the movie oh my god, I'm sorry, brought Jason for us in the cinema industry. Really, really famous character, iconic character. And this decade started movies called slasher films, which involved serial killers, histories about people, mysteries, police officers like I forgot the name, the detective from England, super famous.
Sherlock Holmes.
Sherlock Holmes, yes. Oh, it. I'm sorry. So it's more like a cop stuff, trying to find the clues, and slasher movies are about serial killers, and it was really popular in the 80s. Uh, the interesting fact about movies and this industry, the horror movies and terror movies, they follow society. This is a really interesting thing to notice, because back then in the first movies, like Hannah said, we had vampires, we had werewolves, all right, we have creatures that people were afraid of back then, okay, before the 80s. Then in the 80s, some serial killers was the main point of being scary, of, oh my god, there's a guy, there's a girl outside killing everyone, we should be afraid of this. After this, the 80s, come the 90s, the 2000s, and then we had uh, possessions, right? The demons entering bodies, and we had the exorcist, right? It was like a super famous movie too. And then people were afraid of demons and ghosts and the supernatural, right? Nowadays we have psychological problems, right? We had the depression, anxiety, everyone is losing track of time. So you have like movies like Run. It's a pretty new movie, and it talks about psychological terror, psychological uh, threat. So as you can see, horror movies and terror genre, it follows society. Okay, so who knows which one will be the next one, right? So it's always changing, because nowadays if we watch Friday the 13th, I'm sure everyone will laugh because of the effects, because of the context. You will say like, oh, this is nonsense, who is afraid of this? But believe me, back then people were super terrified of serial killers. And so, like it's written here, huge success in the 80s, serial killer movies. We have one or two serial killers on the list too, because it was very popular. And Jason has become an iconic character for Halloween costumes, and everyone knows the hockey mask, the guy with a huge knife running behind you, right? We don't want that. So, pretty terrifying and a good message for everyone to don't go camping and don't throw things in rivers,
Yeah.
right?
And this was such a huge success. There were 12 movies with Jason. Yeah, you even
Yeah.
have there was even a movie Jason versus Alien. Yeah, so this
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the
there was
crossover.
Jason, yeah, crossover. There was Jason in space. So it was something, yeah. So
Something
Jason go,
crazy, right?
yeah. So after a while, it became something quite boring. But I believe that one of the last Jason movies that Jason goes back to hell in
Mm-hmm.
1993. And so these were the last good ones. After that, the new ones, the reboot
Just
was, it lost kind of the essence. But
yes.
anyhow, yeah.
They're called fillers, right? Just for the money.
Yeah, only that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame because look at this guy. Come on. You wouldn't want to find him walking in the street. All right, next one, Nightmare on Elm Street. This one is famous, iconic too, but with another name in Portuguese, right? And like most of the movies in English names, they're so different from Portuguese, and it wouldn't be different with A Nightmare on Elm Street, which in Portuguese is called A Hora do Pesadelo, right? So this is a 1984 movie directed by Wes Craven. He was one of the first directors that tried to mix the supernatural with the serial killers. So he was starting to the transition from the reality, right? People killing others to spirits killing others, killing people. Okay, so it was something brand new for the decade. Supernatural slasher movie. So a spirit that would enter your dreams and murder you in your dreams, and then I would say wake up dead, but you wouldn't wake up, right? You you would already be dead, so no wake up this time. And Freddy Krueger is our I wouldn't say hero, but our main character, right? Is the star in this series. Like Hannah mentioned, on Friday the 13th, 12 movies for Jason. We have lots of movies for Freddy too. A lot of even Jason versus Freddy, right? Even they fought against each other in a movie, and it's considered to be one of the greatest horror films ever made because people wouldn't sleep since Freddy would find you in your dreams or nightmares, right? So if you don't sleep, you won't find him. He won't find you, sorry. But this caused a little panic on people because it was something new, mixing supernatural with slasher movies. And it was a huge success. Everyone loved it. The critics were super good about it. And the figure itself, the uh, black and red and black shirt is iconic with the hat and the scissors or knives in the hands. Pretty iconic. There's a picture of him, our star. And yeah, I don't think it's that. I think I'm more afraid of Jason. Because I
I
think Jason is more
think,
more realistic, right?
yeah, the feeling when I was a kid watching these movies. I remember I used to live in a small flat, and this was it was the basement flat. So you're pretty much in the level on the street, and it had a really big window in the living room where the TV was, and watching that movie during the night. If you hear noises, and it's the 80s, definitely, the best decade ever.
Nice.
But they had, and we used to play with this. Even like my neighbor, he had the glove for the Freddy Krueger. Yeah. And in a way, there's
Yes.
a relation from Freddy Krueger again. with in a similar way in a British story, but this story is actually real. Freddy Krueger, there's no such relation with real facts. But in England, back in the Victorian times, there was the Jack the Stripper, yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, he was a serial killer.
Yeah,
So,
he was real, right?
yeah, this was a real horror. Yeah. So, horror movies, they pretty much impact people psychologically. But I believe the worst kind of horror is reality itself.
Yeah,
Then it's really, but it's interesting for those who did not watch it, for the youngsters who have never seen these movies. It's a definite must watch. Yeah.
must watch. Yeah, it should be on the list like 100 movies to watch before dying or before growing up too
Yeah,
much or
the
running out of time. This is definitely on the list.
bucket list. Yeah.
All right. Well
Alrighty.
said, Jack. Jack is a really threat back then, right? And I think this is our last one, our last movie. We decided to bring you guys something that is not related to killing or related to following people in their dreams or anything. The Adams Family. I'm sure everyone here knows Familia Adams, right? Adams Family. The the song, right? Da-da-da-da-dum. Pretty iconic. Everyone likes to do the snaps, and it's a pretty good movie to watch with your family because it has nothing to do with horror or terror. It's actually a household created for entertaining, to make fun of the households back then in America, and to contrast the families back then. You would have like big houses and big stuff in your house, and the Adams family, they come to the opposite side, right? They would uh, mess with the horror part of life, like cemetery, a graveyard. They would find spirits, zombies, werewolves. They would mess with everything that was not related to the living, and they would feel good about it, right? Because they had actually a hand as a waiter, right? the
Yeah.
I don't remember the name of the hand in English, but I believe it's called mãozinha, right? In Portuguese.
It's
I
Mãozinha.
don't know
I
if
think
it's
if I'm
handy. I don't
not,
remember.
I think it's it is the other one. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I don't remember it in English because I recently watched The Addams Family in but it was in Portuguese because it was a classic from our childhood. And you know, whenever you watch a movie when you're a kid, you have to watch it the same way when you're an adult, so you don't ruin your nostalgic feeling. So watching it in Portuguese was a must. But Adam's Family
It's
is a
Thing,
thing. Yes.
Thing. Yeah.
Okay. And yes, very good. I think I think it's not mãozinha. I think it's coisa, right? In Portuguese too. Maybe
No, they're
I'm
both.
yes.
They say coisa,
Hmm.
mãozinha, but both. But
Yes.
yeah.
And thank you, Hannah. And you have a profound influence on American comics, cinema, television, because Adam's Family, they were everywhere when they were on television. Then they were to the cinema. They were to the stores as toys. They went to comics, right? The cartoons. They were a huge success, and it's just because it was the opposite of families living their life. The Adams, they would just make fun of the living and not take life so serious like everyone was doing. Instead of going to regular work or school or playing regular games like baseball, basketball, soccer, they would mess with the dead, the macabre, right? The something that everyone was afraid of, right? And I'm going to show you a picture just for to show you guys. These are the Adams. You can see that their waiter is like Frankenstein, right? It remembers him, the image, the portrait of Frankenstein. So yeah, these are the Adams. I'm sure everyone here knows, and especially one of the most iconic characters in the Adams family is Wednesday, right? Vandinha, right? She is really popular, and a lot of girls like to dress as Wednesday for Halloween, or Morticia, right? Gomez, and anyway, even the baby has a mustache. You can see they are very stylish, right? Pretty good movie. Back here, just an addition here. Back here, it's not a broom. It's Primo Ich, okay? Ich, the cousin. And this guy is awesome because he's just a bunch of hair, okay? So pretty good movie. You should definitely watch it. It's, I wouldn't say it's like on top 100 movies to watch before growing up or dying or something like that, but it's a must watch if you want to have fun with your family and friends. Pretty soft movie to watch and have fun.
Yeah. And if you get a chance, you can check it out. I think it's on YouTube. We have the episodes from the series from the 60s.
Yes.
It's a kind of after when the movie was released, it does have a comedy involved. Yeah, um, it's a kind of serious, but you have this comedy because the series itself, they had people laughing. It was even kind of a sitcom. They trying to insert the Adams family into the American society. If you think about
Yeah.
they were even considered. It was interesting because in the 60s in America, there's one of the episodes they're considered to be communists because like this guy the Frankenstein, but it's interesting because of the accent and stuff like that, but it's nice, like you said. It's we can call it not necessarily a must watch, but it's an interesting movie to check it out.
Yeah, pretty good one. Pretty, really soft, right? You can
Yeah.
laugh a lot because of some of the decisions, the comic part. And like I said, it has nothing to do with the other movies in this list. And it's just a movie for you to have fun and laugh a little bit because it's made to entertain and, like Hannah said, sitcom. So laugh tracks all the way. Right?
All righty.
Okay. So can I move to the last one?
Yep.
Last slide. Okay. Here we have our final slide. Happy Halloween for everyone that is watching us or that will watch. Thank you for everything here. Thanks for listening. And if you have any questions, if you have a suggestion or a movie or something, feel free. That was the end of our movie section.
Very good. Okay, guys. So, if you watched into the end, leave your comments, and if you're free, if you feel up to, maybe even after Halloween, to comment about horror movies. It's always interesting. Send us a video. Send us a interesting fact about this. Leave on the comments, so you can even leave comments on Instagram, on Facebook, on CNA Poços de Caldas. But that's pretty much it. There are there's much more to talk about, many other different
Definitely.
things, but it's pretty much it. Just to have this session before the Halloween itself, and happy Halloween, yeah.
Yes. All right. Thanks for everyone to sticking around. Thank you for coming, joining us in this Halloween Curiosities. As always, there is much more to learn, to read about topics, and Halloween wouldn't be different. There are more curiosities, more of deep information about it. But this was just the I would say more important ones that related to the Halloween and how it became a huge trick or treat party for us.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, guys.
Right.
So thank you very much and see you around and take care.